August or September, Bitcoin will be at a price of whatever the cycle top is, 150,000, 200,000 by September, and Ethereum is going to be at a price of what, like 5,000, 10,000, all by September or
I mean,
December?
Ethereum might be at 5,000 by March. Like, there's no question about that in my mind. So kind of here, I'll give you guys my predictions for my precious coins, my Ethereum and my Bitcoin, because you have to understand, like, look, I'm almost an Ethereum maximalist. Like, I love Ethereum. That's kind of a silly phrase. I mean, we all know that that's, you know, not a real thing, but we love Ethereum on this channel. We've been preaching Ethereum, an ETH evangelist, if you will, for a long time. And people have made a lot of money that have been watching my channel that have been investing in Ethereum, and they're continuing to do that. However, the Ethereum price is still based on the Bitcoin price to some extent. If Bitcoin goes to $115,000 and that's the top, like Dan Moorhead of Pantera Capital says, then there's, you know, Ethereum is probably going to be in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. I think 10,000 is minimum for Ethereum. And if, I mean, look, we're right almost at 1,500. We almost hit 1,500, you know, last night. It's like a 6X from there, you know, a little bit more than that, but it's not that much. It's, you know, it's 6.6X, somewhere around there. Definitely possible, I believe, when Bitcoin blows its top off. Okay. But I believe my personal prediction for Bitcoin, $322,000. People wonder how I came up with that. I don't just randomly pick these things. That's an average of what I find to be three totally different predictions coming from totally different places or numbers, and I average those together. It's basically the stock to flow chart. And I know you guys love the stock to flow chart. I discovered the stock to flow chart through your channel, just so you guys know. That's what really got me turned on to that. So you created a monster, okay? So, but 289,000 is the top of that chart. And then I really like the Citibank. I really like their prediction of 318,000 this year because they're very specific. It is this year, $318,000, because that's not a crypto-related company, as you know, but they're getting in crypto, and that was an internal document that got leaked. Now, did they leak it on purpose or publicity? I don't know. I'm gonna go with no, that somebody leaked it because that was the report. And then $360,000, because if you go back to 2017 bull cycle, what you'll see is that the price of Bitcoin 18x, technically 17.8. We'll round up to 18. It 18x'd its previous all-time high, okay? If we were to 18x our previous all-time high, which this is a super bullish market, the money printing, we all know we're living at a time like no other time, totally could be possible. If we were to do that, that would put the number of Bitcoin at 360,000. So you get all those together, mix them together, you got, you know, kind of a low bullish, a high bullish, and a mid bullish. You know, I mean, those are all moon targets. We know that. And you get 322,000. If you look at the price of Ethereum, okay, and you say if Ethereum can achieve a 0.08 to 0.1 BTC ratio, to give you guys some numbers, in 2017, it went all the way up to 0.14 BTC. If you look at the peak of the bull run, of the Ethereum bull run, which was a little bit after that number, about 6 months after, it reached 0.11 BTC. Okay, meaning it's 11% of the price of Bitcoin. If Ethereum can achieve similar numbers, anywhere between 8% to 10% of Bitcoin's price, Ethereum's going to pump after Bitcoin to the highest, is it should. You know, we have Bitcoin that tops out, and then the money flows into the alts. That makes the Bitcoin price go down, the dominance go down. Basically, the number that I've came up with, I believe that if Bitcoin reaches that $322,000 mark, we could see Ethereum at $27,000.
Hoping to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. And that's only going to get bigger and bigger. Sovereign wealth funds are going to get into this, etc. So the corrections will be less and less and less. I'm going with $220,000 per Bitcoin as a 2021 target. And that would bring us up to over $4 trillion market valuation, which I think is a good 2021 objective. You know, we were going to catch up to gold. That would bring us up to not quite half gold's valuation, but getting.
I mean, can you play the clip in 2012 and 13 when it was at 200 and everybody was laughing at me on CNBC every time I would talk about Bitcoin? Where is it going? It's probably going to 100, then 150, then 200,000. In what period? I don't know. 5 years, 10 years, but it's going there. And the reason is because every time you see all of this stuff happening, it just reminds you that, wow, our leaders are not as trustworthy and reliable as they used to be. And so just in case, we really do need to have some kind of, insurance we can keep under our pillow that gives us some access to an uncorrelated hedge.
Returns. This one, I have a hunch that this will be bigger than anybody imagines. Everyone's like, well, plan B, he's got 250,000 or 280,000. Others have got various levels between 50 and 150. But if I just take the log chart and put regression lines on it, if it gets to 2 standard deviations overbought, which is roughly where it got to the last 2 peaks, that's $1 million.
Well, when Google and Facebook and Amazon and Apple came out and they launched their digital networks, and when the internet came along and it was a new digital network for information, people weren't quite sure if they should embrace them. But I think 30 years later, companies that know how to use the internet and know how to work with Apple and Google and Facebook and social networks are the leading edge companies, and they're winning. Our employees are pretty delighted that we're pioneers in commercializing and integrating with this digital monetary network, because this is going to be the future.
And so I'm not going to ask you to play, stock market as we typically do, but what's the best case scenario for the price of Bitcoin? Like, what are you looking for? What are you planning? Because I would imagine at some point this has to come up on the earnings call, which I believe is within a week or so from now.
Well, look, I mean, Bitcoin's a digital monetary network, and the asset itself is the technically superior asset. It's the ideal institutional safe haven asset. So what's the future? The future is for to flip gold. It's going to replace gold, and then after it replaces gold, it's going to become the monetary index that replaces stock indexes like the S&P 500, the Dow, the bond indexes, and the like. Because people that want to store their money, they want a safe haven store of value over the next 10 to 30 years, are going to be attracted to a digital asset that has no inflation in it.